Hello and welcome to Tabletop Oddity. My name is Jay and today we're going to be looking at Fantasy Flight predictions for Star Wars Legion from Gen Con. So Gen Con, I think the presentation that they're doing is Wednesday at 11 PM UK time. I'd need to confirm that, but basically FFG are doing a panel / presentation, and this is where they generally release announce a lot of news. It's where we got the announcement for Clone Wars last year. So I'm going to go through, and we're just looking at Star Wars Legion here, but we're just going to look through at what I think, like predictions, what is likely to be announced. Yeah, so I've got a list, but I'm going to slightly repeat one of my earlier videos, which is the Clone Wars predictions, because of course for Star Wars Legion we are going to get a lot of Clone Wars stuff, but at the end I've got some more, hopefully more interesting predictions that we might see. So I'm going to briefly run over the characters and the commandos and units and all that kind of stuff I think we might see for the Clone Wars. We'll probably see Clone Wars predictions up until let's say January, maybe. It will have to depend if they do any like Imperial and Republic, the original trilogy. Commander-wise, I think one we will almost certainly see will be Dooku. Dooku and Anakin will be like a classic combination here. I do think we might end up seeing like support characters, because if we look at when what happened with the original trilogy, we had like Luke and Vader, and then we got Leia and Krennic. So I think we might see like two commanders announced, like a powerful one like Anakin and Dooku, and we then might see like some support characters. So for the support sort of characters, I envision, obviously these would not fit into the support characters, I envision maybe something like Trench for the Separatists. Yeah, you can imagine that would be pretty, he's like a support character. I don't know enough, there could be other support characters that maybe fit the Separatists a little bit better. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see about that. But for the Resistance, the Republic. I was like, the Resistance, that's the wrong one, that's the new one. The Republic, I think Cody would be a classic possibility either as sort of like the support kind of characters, sort of like the lower leveled commander basically. So that could definitely happen, I think. Those two, I'd be very surprised if Anakin and Dooku don't come. Like Cody and Trench, it could be any multitude of characters there. They're just the two that I'm going to put my money on. And then we're also probably likely, if we look at the releases from the original, we're also likely to get another unit of core troopers, right? And for the battle droids, yes, I was putting these maybe as like special forces because they are the super battle droids, the B2 super battle droid. But I'm not sure what other options the droids will have. So I could definitely see these guys as being like a really expensive core unit to go with the really cheap core unit. It could happen. Or, and I think maybe likely that they might just do something completely unexpected. You know, like maybe like Geonosians, or, you know, like a race that isn't necessarily obvious. Like I think maybe for the Republic you could end up like with Gungans. You could end up with a core trooper unit that isn't what we expect, because obviously phase 2 clone troopers would be an obvious standard choice as like even more elite core troopers. It definitely could happen, and that probably will happen, but I suspect maybe they'll be like down the line and we'll get something a little bit off kilter for the core troopers. Could be wrong, could definitely easily just be these two. And for the special forces, I was calling these guys the special forces, but I think people are right. I reckon the commando droids make a lot more sense for the Separatists, and literally the commando droids with snipers and special forces and etc. So that would make perfect sense. And for the Republic, the ARC troopers again also make sense. Like everything here seems to fit with what we've had before and sort of make perfect sense. So it's hard to like really look past them. I do expect some surprises, but not really in any of these categories so much. Maybe the core troopers, as I said. And vehicle-wise, I'd be so surprised if we don't get something like this, the armoured assault tank. That is a classic aesthetic for the Clone Wars, if you ask me, as a youngster when that was coming out. That is one thing I'd certainly remember. And then this tank is also pretty classic for the Republic. So I definitely think these characters like Dooku and Anakin, they'll be announced. Whether I don't necessarily think they might not be the second one, because we might get Rex, Cody, or Trench or whoever first. But we'll get somebody like that. We could get oh, the guy who flies, we could get the Gene Olsen guys. Like we could get somebody like that, and it'll maybe fit in with the core troopers. It's hard to say. These core troopers are like odds-on choices to eventually come. Whether or not they'll be the second choice, I don't know. A bit of me thinks they're going to go a little bit off kilter because droids, like Phase 2 troopers, very similar to Phase 1 in looks really to an average person, and this will just be more droids. So I think they might go something a little bit weird, but that's just an off kilter prediction. The commandos and the special forces make perfect sense, and so do the vehicles. So really, as predictions go, I think that's pretty safe. But we'll have to wait and see. And yeah, but there's more I want to talk about than just that. Let me just get this up on my notes on the screen. That's safe Clone Wars predictions. I'd be surprised if we see anything really insanely different from that. But you know, I'd love Yoda or somebody like that. One sort of bigger prediction here is, I think, obviously it's not even that big of a prediction because they've actually talked about it, and that is sub-factions. So they have said that they would love to do sub-factions along the way at some point, and I think that might be like one of the big announcements for Legion, and I don't know what that could entail. It could be Wookiees, something like that, each faction, maybe the original trilogy, you could get a sub-faction. I'm not even 100% sure what it would be for the Empire, but you know, maybe there's something out there. Yeah, I think sub-factions are definitely a possibility because not only have they spoke about them, it also would maybe tide people over till the Resistance for another like big release. So sub-factions definitely on the cards. It's not that I would be surprised if they don't appear, because I wouldn't, but it's definitely a big announcement they could do, and they could be like, it's going to come out this time next year. It could be the next like Gen Con release, basically. And then the one after could be the Resistance in 2 years' time. So sub-factions definitely, they won't do sub-factions for the Clone Wars factions right off the bat because they don't have enough stuff, but the Republic and the Empire could do, though the Empire is very one race, it seems. You know, there's not that many aliens in there, so not really 100% sure what sub-factions they could have. Let me know in the comments below if there's anything that strikes to you as obvious for the Empire. Not 100% sure. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll just do something like Wookiees and call that it, or Wookiees and Gungans and be like, there you go, that's it. The rest don't like aliens. I think that's unlikely, especially for the Separatists, but there you have it. So yeah, sub-factions I think are definitely a real possibility. We'll have to wait and see if that's confirmed. And just going back to like unit releases, obviously we will see stuff for the original trilogy cast members, and I think it's weird because I mean the Vader and Luke operatives, that could have been a perfect Gen Con announcement. Now a bit of me wonders if it was just simply because it was leaked that they did the article quickly and they got that out there and they were like, yep, we'll announce it now. It's obviously not going to be a surprise for Gen Con, so we'll just announce it. Or maybe it was always planned just to sort of build a bit of hype, and maybe that means there's going to be even more to come. I think, you know, there's some obvious omissions still, like R2-D2, C-3PO and stuff like that, that could definitely pop out for the Republic and the original trilogy. You could even get like a completely new units that I just can't foresee. I mean, nothing really like springs to mind, but you're definitely going to get some stuff. And I think if it's in the movies, it has a high chance of happening. I know people want like IG-88 and stuff like that. And a bit of me does think that characters would be an easy way to mix up the game. Like, it's one model, you can just have that rule set and it can really change the game. Like Sabine and Boss could really like sort of mixing up the game. And it's just one model, one dude, one girl, whatever you want to call it. So you could see stuff like that. I'm still surprised R2-D2 and C-3PO haven't made an appearance, but maybe that's just me. And I mean, for releases, I think you will probably see a terrain/objective set because they have spoke about how they want to have more objectives and conditions and stuff like that. So they'll probably do another supplies box that will probably be announced, I believe, and it'll have more conditions that you use. And I think they might go a little bit not overboard. Instead of it just being one like it was for the priority supplies, you might see something like three each, just to really start mixing up the game. But they'll all be optional, obviously, and they'll be tailored to vehicles and stuff like that. But one thing that I think might get announced, which is possibly a little bit, well, I'll say a surprise, it's not, because again they've mentioned it. I think they'll possibly announce that they're going to do point changes. Now, I don't necessarily think that this will be an app at this point. It could easily be a point change into just like an errata and as part of the rules, an FAQ kind of thing at the bottom, and say, oh, this and such a body is now this amount of points. But I think that's definitely on the agenda, and I don't think they'll wait much longer. So Gen Con point change, either it'll be like, we're doing an app, or just to let you know, we're going to change some points, and that'll be coming on this day, so get ready. But I think point changes are definitely on the agenda, and I think, so it's not just a prediction of like, we're going to get the Clone Wars stuff, we're going to get Dooku, blah, blah, blah. It's also like, well, we actually might get the things that we sort of been wanting, and that'll be like stuff like sub-factions, point changes, more objectives and conditions and all that kind of stuff, and deployments. I think those are likely to be announced now, Wednesday, 11 p.m. UK time. What is that, 6 p.m. Eastern if you're American? And I don't know, I'm not smart enough to work it out like if you're on the West Coast, but there you have it. I think those are some predictions. I said nothing here is like, well, I say prediction, I'm not like Nostradamus. A lot of these things have actually been spoke about, you know, especially the sub-factions, the point changes and the conditions. They've mentioned those. So if they've mentioned them, it generally means that they're going to do them at some point. And Gen Con would be a perfect time to announce that. And then the Clone Wars stuff, a lot of the things, that's all the obvious stuff. And I think some of them are just so obvious that they'll happen. Nobody seems to be with me on this one, but I think the Core Troopers might be something a little bit outside the box, simply just to give a bit more variety to the list. But we'll find out on Wednesday if I'm wrong. I'm going to stay up, so the video will be live, which means I'll be very tired at work on Thursday, but there you have it. Yeah, that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed and you're interested in Star Wars Legion. Obviously, I'm talking about that. That's how we roll here. And I'm very excited about the future of the Legion releases. I think it could be pretty damn interesting. It does look like it might be on sale at Gen Con. By the way, if you watch my first Gen Con prediction, I'm like, yeah, it'll probably be on sale at Gen Con and released in September. And I also pretty much predicted the core set box, but that could just be a fluke. So don't rely on anything I told you. Heavily, my personal predictions could very easily be wrong. Like and subscribe. Have a beautiful day, and goodbye.